Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzo.
And today we're talking about Predator 2, released in 1990. Directed by Stephen Hopkins, written by Jim Thomas and John Thomas, and starring Danny Glover, Gary Busey, Ruben Blades, Maria Conchita Alonso, and Bill Paxton, who I gotta admit, I totally forgot was in this movie. I think before watching it for this episode, I had only seen this movie once.
Yeah, same.
And just did not remember. Adam Baldwin is in it too, and just did not remember that Bill Paxton was in it at all. Which is kind of crazy because he's a big part.
Yeah, I had only seen it once. And the only thing I remember was nothing.
You remember nothing?
I remember just, for some reason in my head, when I think of Predator 2, I would think of him standing on the side of a building and seeing like kind of a shot down the side of a skyscraper or something.
Right.
And I remembered that there was an alien skull in it.
Yeah, yeah. When I think of Predator 2, I think I must have caught part of this movie on TV. And I think it must have been on one of like the actual like movie channel, like Showtime or HBO or something. Must have been Showtime because I don't think we had HBO when I was growing up. But because I remember the scene that's, and I know I didn't see the whole thing, but the scene that I caught on TV was when Danny Glover and his team go into that like crime boss's penthouse or whatever, and like those bodies were those skinned bodies were hanging.
Right.
And I remember seeing those like skinned bodies and just being like, oh, this movie's crazy. And like, that's all I don't know, maybe I changed the channel after that. I don't know. But I just remember seeing that scene when I was a kid. Probably when
it's kind of crazy to remember some of the stuff I remember seeing on TV too, because that really shocks me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's, I mean, it might not have been on Showtime. It might have been on basic cable or something. And you just saw, I don't know. I don't recall, but I do remember seeing that scene, and it's stuck with me, obviously, because they were bodies that had been skinned.
I missed the part where you said it might have been Showtime. So okay,
it might have been. I don't recall. I honestly can't remember, but yeah. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just saw that scene. And I don't really remember watching this for the first time. I probably rented it from Blockbuster when I was working there and decided to watch it at that point. And I remember actually liking it the first time I watched it. I remember thinking that it was a cool, like, I actually still kind of appreciate that the first one is all in the jungle, and then this one is, you know, the concrete jungle. It's Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. I do actually really like the opening shot of the movie where it fades up and it looks kind of like the jungle, even though you can kind of see some paved roads under the trees a little bit. But it looks like the jungle. You hear some like jungle noises, but then the camera eventually, it's kind of like a helicopter shot, kind of. It kind of tilts up and you see the Los Angeles skyline. Yeah. And then it says Predator 2, and that looks like a video game to me, the way that popped up on the screen, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like this movie, when did it come out? 1990?
Yeah, 90.
It's definitely has that 80s feel to it, you know. Mm-hmm. Like and you talking about that shot, and I was one of the things. So what do you think about this movie? What's your
I don't, watching it this time around, I didn't like it as much as I liked it in the first time I watched it. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate that they did something different for the sequel. I like that they took Predator out of the jungle and put him into a city. But there's a lot about this movie that feels like I watched part of it with Denise, and I said to her, you know, there's a lot of like cliche stuff in this movie, but I don't know if it was cliche in 1990.
Right.
Or
That's
if
a good
like
question.
or if this movie was like part of the reason some of the, because it's like, you know, him arguing with his captain, you know, and he's the hothead kind of cop who goes running into the building when he's told not
and
to.
throws him up against the wall.
Right, yeah, exactly, and it's kind of that type of stuff. And there's a lot of dialogue that just kind of is cheesy. But I was like, but was
so
it?
many one-liners.
Yeah, there were a lot of one-liners.
One-liner attempts.
Oh, right. And the other thing, so one of the questions I had was, I wonder why because if you notice in the beginning, it says Los Angeles, 1997. So they chose to make this movie be 7 years in the future, which is not very far into the future. So I wonder what the reasoning for that was, because it seemed to me like it was present day 1990, other than the fact that all these cops had giant like laser sights on their guns. Like every single cop had one of those laser scopes on their guns and just made the gun look huge.
I wonder what if that was like part of production, like pre-production, and they're like, we're gonna have it take place in the future, and they're gonna be like futuristic cops, and it was supposed to take place in the future, but once they got to actual like production, they were like, we can only put giant lasers on the guns.
Right.
That's
all right. Well,
budget...
it won't be that far in the future then. It'll just be like
that's what
7 years.
Or they forgot to change the year in the script after they couldn't afford all the technology, right. And they're like, well,
yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of bizarre to make it. 7 years later. But I don't know. But yeah, all the guns I thought were kind of ridiculous. And even in the very beginning, Danny Glover shows up. There's that big shootout in the very beginning between like these kind of rival gangs and the cops. And Danny Glover comes busting into the scene, and he gets the, he kind of gets the lay of the land from the other cops, and he goes to his car and he opens the trunk, and he's got like his duffel bag of guns, and he picks one up and he's like, oh no, too small. And he gets like the big one from the trunk, I don't know. It's just kind of silly.
Yeah, that was the other thing was I felt like this movie had so many different personalities. It's like sometimes it would be try to be funny, sometimes it would actually try to take itself serious. Sometimes it was trying to be like just kind of outlandish.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, like for instance, here's an example, like the newscaster guy.
Right, yeah.
Like I actually appreciated him.
Really?
I remember when he was like, who's got control here? The cops? Nuh-uh.
Right. I wrote a note about him. The one note I wrote, that guy was Morton Downey Jr., by the way. The note I wrote about him, let me pull it up. I'm sorry about that. I said, he looks like he's coked out. There's a scene where he's talking about King Willie, and he calls him the king of powder. And I actually said out loud, he looks like he's on some powder. Like, that's what it seemed like to me. The newscaster just looked very, I don't know. He was an interesting character, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think about this movie?
I think it's bad. I mean,
it's definitely not as good as the first one, and even though I do, like I said, I appreciate that they try to be different with it. It just falls into the kind of the bad category.
I think one of the things that really had going against it during production is probably just the expectation, because after Predator, it was a hit, and now they're like, well, we're not doing Arnold. Let's get Danny Glover, because I'm guessing Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon, I think, came out in the late 80s, so he had already done at least the first one.
Right. And they, kept trying to do the one-liners and just have this. It was kind of like what you were saying, like the cliche stuff, but I have a feeling that it wasn't. Granted, Terminator did come out in 84. I think it was kind of self-aware, like it was definitely self-aware. But to the point where maybe they felt like they were safe doing it because it wasn't like, it was supposed to be cool. And they're like, oh, we got Predator 2, and we've got all these actors. Like, it was crazy how much of a straight to video this movie felt.
Right. Even though it was a, theatrically, oh boy, I can't speak tonight, which is terrible because we're doing a podcast. Theatrically released movie.
And the cast is also theatrical, like they're big names.
Gary Busey and Bill Paxton. Yeah. I mean, this was after Aliens too, so he had already done, but you're right. I mean, especially watching it now. But that's what I was saying. Like, were those
that's a good point.
One-liners and all the kind of cliches?
Well, here's the other thing. Like you said, watching it now, and you and I both said that we've seen this once, right?
Right.
So, like, we have no nostalgia for this movie.
No, yeah, not really.
And I'm curious, how forgiving we would be about certain things, and also how maybe certain scenes or things would mean something to us because of the memory of whatever.
Yeah, like if we had gotten, if we had been old enough to maybe see it in the theater. I don't know though, because Predator 1 was so good.
Oh yeah.
Would you, if you were a big Predator fan in 1990 and you go see this movie in the theater, would you have really walked out of it going, man, that was a great sequel? I don't think so. But maybe if you hadn't seen Predator 1, if you had been that guy that got dragged to the movies with his friends who hadn't seen Predator 1.
That's hilarious that you're bringing this up, actually, because I was thinking how they did the mask thing again, right?
Yeah.
And they went like so long through the movie without,
and
then they almost did like the mask reveal. And I remember thinking, I wonder if they did that for the audience that hadn't seen Predator 1.
Right.
Because it was almost the same, reveal, and like people that hadn't seen
almost the same line.
Right.
That part really made me roll my eyes. Where Danny Glover goes, "You're one ugly," and then the Predator finishes that line.
Yes.
That part really, that kind of ruined the movie, honestly.
I know what you're talking about, because I think that's around the time where I was like, I can't make any more excuses for this.
Right. Like you can go, well, it was 1990.
Because I remember, so I watched this in two parts. I watched the first half one day, and then the next day, which was today, I watched the second half. And I remember yesterday when I was watching it, like rolling my eyes a lot at the stuff. But also I remember thinking that it was when they put on those suits and they started going down. And I was like, there's been some interesting moments. Like one of the things I wrote down was that the witch doctor, which was very strange, by the way. But there was that one shot where he went to attack him, and then the cinematography in this, there were some creative moments that I noticed, and there was also a lot of bad ones too. That's why I said it kind of feels like it has different personalities. Who knows? Maybe studio got involved, or
maybe there was some production problems or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was this one shot where it looks like he pulls out his blade, and he makes and then it cuts to his face, and it's like an attacking face. But as it walks, it's actually the Predator holding his decapitated head.
Right.
So when it cut, it looked like he was screaming to attack, but he was actually dead. And then there was another shot I remember where they were doing some kind of car chase, and one of the shots cut to the viewpoint of the front of the car as you were coming up to go through a wall. And so I remember thinking, as poorly done as this movie is, there's some cool cinematography ideas that were used.
I agree. I actually, one of my notes,
very much.
Right, one of the notes I wrote was I really like the shot of, I think the Predator is cloaked in this shot, he's still kind of invisible, but it's a shot of him walking towards King Willie. They're in an alley, and he's stepping into the water puddles, and so you just see the invisible foot kind of making these splashes in the water puddle. And I remember thinking that was actually pretty cool, and I like the angle of the shot and everything of it and stuff. So there's some creative things in this movie, but it's just not enough to kind of redeem the other things.
Right. To me, a lot of the acting just I could pretty much constantly tell
Yeah.
that it was acting. It just did not feel like it felt like a set.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. And I think part of that is the writing. Even though this movie has the exact same writers as the first movie, it just, and I know I've said this 100 times already, but it just felt cliche. It was the whole, I wish I could remember like a specific example, but I know there's that one scene with Robert Davey who shows up, who's kind of like, I don't know if he's the police captain or something, but he gets into Danny Glover's face, and he says, you were supposed to wait for backup before you ran into that building. And Danny Glover's like, you don't care about us. We're on here in the streets. We're fighting for our lives. And they get into this argument, and it's just not very good writing. Like, I almost felt bad for the actors that they had to say those lines.
Yes.
But again, it was, I don't know if like at the time it was cliche. And so I honestly, I can almost forgive it because it was, I don't know though. Maybe it was cliche by that point. I really have no idea. But even Bill Paxton, who I love, kind of is almost a caricature. He's the guy that is always hitting on the ladies, and then there's Maria Conchita Alonso is like the tough guy woman cop who doesn't put up with him, and I don't know. It's not a great movie.
It's not. It actually made me really dread having to do like. Did we do Alien vs Predator?
No, not yet.
Okay, so now I'm dreading doing Alien vs Predator.
Right.
Not that I wasn't before, but now even more so.
And that's a movie I've only seen once, and I did not like that when it came out. So
we saw that together, like for the first time I remember, because we were it was when we were rooming together, and we were doing those marathons. We had done. I'm pretty sure we had already done the Friday the 13th and Halloween one, and then we were doing Alien, and then we're like, and then we got to do Predator, and then we can do Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, now that you mention that, I wonder if that is when I saw Predator 2 for the first time. I wonder if you and I watched Predator 2 together, leading up, to Alien versus Predator.
I don't think I rewatched Predator 2 then.
Oh, so you saw it? Okay, so you saw it before that?
Yeah, I had seen it before it. Yeah.
Well, maybe I had too, so maybe we skipped it. But
I'm pretty sure I saw Predator 2 around the time that like I said, this would have been early for me because I started getting those Alien movies when I was like in 5th grade and started renting them. So, I'm pretty sure we did Predator also, and that's probably around the time that I saw
it. But yeah, Alien vs. Predator, I am not looking forward to watching it. I am looking forward to rewatching Predators, which is the next Predator movie.
I've not seen that, actually.
I've only seen that one once, but I remember liking that one. But of course, I remember liking this one when I watched it the first time too. So we'll see. But
it seems like I recently remember seeing the Rotten Tomatoes for Predators, and it was really low. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, and then there's The Predator, which came out a couple years ago, and
maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. Then
that one was not good. Sorry, the shiver. I'm just
really that's right, because wasn't Predators done by Robert Rodriguez?
He produced it. Yeah, I remember being super excited because I thought he was going to direct it, and then it was not directed by him, and it was not written by him, but it was just produced by him. But it was that's the one that stars Adrian Brody,
right?
And is actually like on the planet that the Predators are from, I think. Which is kind of cool. But yeah, the Predator, I think everybody had high hopes for, and was not very good. So, not looking forward to having to rewatch that one to do.
I've not seen either of those. So,
well, I think Predator. Well, I'd be curious to hear what you think about Predators when we get to that one. But
yeah, for now, since you, because I forgot about the Robert Rodriguez thing, and just because he produced it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it can sometimes.
I think because of him, it got the ball kind of got rolling it for the movie, and kind of, I don't know if it got greenlit because of him, but I do remember thinking he had a hand in getting that movie made.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was kind of a passion project maybe for him, kind of, which you'd think he would have directed it then, but who knows. But anyway, he did not have anything to do with this movie, Predator 2. It's interesting. So I looked it up. Danny Glover had done Lethal Weapon and Lethal Weapon 2 before this movie came out. And so I guess he was enough of an action star for them to cast him in this movie. And I don't mind Danny Glover. I think he's good, but you go from Arnold Schwarzenegger to Danny Glover, and it just seems kind of an odd choice. And I understand, like, they probably couldn't get Arnold back. He probably didn't want to do Predator 2.
I think they were probably trying to just get Danny Glover on a roll. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, he's in Lethal Weapon. Let's get him in Predator.
And the Lethal Weapon movies are huge. Yeah.
Right. Let's get him started on a new series.
Action franchise.
Yeah.
That's
my guess.
Yeah. And he's fine in this movie. He's good. I mean, he plays the character well.
He's fun to watch, definitely.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, some of those lines they give him, you're just like, oh.
Right. You feel bad for him. Yeah. One of the notes I wrote actually is in the very beginning of the movie, after Danny Glover and his team, go into the building trying to find the gang that they were just in a shootout with, and the Predator has basically destroyed all of them except for one guy, and he ends up on the roof with that guy. And that guy is actually like searching. He pays Danny Glover no mind. He's like searching. He sees the Predator. He pulls up his guns to shoot the Predator, and Danny Glover ends up shooting him. And the guy falls off the building. Well, anyway, Danny Glover gets up there. He's scared of heights, which I'm not sure ever comes into play again in the movie. I can't remember, but I don't know if...
I don't think it does. I don't remember that.
I thought that was kind of it. He's like, whoa. It's like, I got to get down from here. And so I thought that was going to be like a thing later, and I don't think it was. But anyway, he gets a glimpse of the Predator in its cloaked form, and he points his gun right at the Predator. And I remember thinking, why doesn't the Predator just kill him right then? Because the Predator's thing is he hunts people who can hunt him back, I guess. This is the best way to describe it. And so this guy points a gun right at him, and he's like, nah, you're good.
That's right, because now that you bring that up, that's a line they say in the first movie was the girl that the survivor, they bring up that he didn't kill her because she was unarmed.
Right.
And then the first thing they do in this is totally just spin that on its head and say, nope.
He only kills bad guys. Like, it was just, I didn't, I mean, he does kill Ruben Blades' character. He kills Danny, right? I'm pretty sure the Predator kills Danny, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. I watched this movie like a week ago, and so I can't remember anything.
I can't remember, and I mean, honestly, there were moments where I was having to say, John, pay attention.
Right. Well, that's true too. That happened to me as well. It's when a movie that's how you know a movie's bad, is when you find your mind
waiting
wandering.
for the Well, there's times when I'm waiting for the credits on good movies, actually, because I'm ready to be like, all right, I just kind of want to take this in and like think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're ready for the credits because you're ready to do the next thing, then. And especially when you're in like the last act, and it's like supposed to be the big finale, and you're just like,
let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's not a good sign. Well, I know Danny dies, and I'm pretty sure it's at the hands of the Predator, which means that he doesn't only kill bad people in this movie. He kills cops as well. So there's no real reason for him to not just kill Danny Glover right then in the beginning of the movie, other than the fact that if he'd done that, there would be no movie. Or at least there would be no main character.
Right.
That would have been an interesting twist.
Maybe he was like, you know what? You got up here. I'm going to make this fun, and we're going to do this later.
Next time. Yeah, exactly.
So the alien skull, I I did not remember it being that focused on. I
Right.
thought it was like kind of in the background.
Yeah. Same
And
here.
they were like, look
Look at
an
this
alien skull.
Right. Same universe. Yeah. Yeah, I remember I thought that was kind of, I mean, so I do wonder how many people,
and I think we should mention too that this was the first time any kind of crossover had been done with this.
Right, right.
I don't know if there was a comic. Maybe there was a comic.
I don't know. That's a great question. I know that like Alien versus Predator, wasn't there like a video game that was Alien versus Predator before like there was a movie and stuff?
So there's actually, I believe, Alien versus Terminator. No, it's RoboCop versus Terminator.
RoboCop versus Terminator. I remember that.
Never mind. Okay.
That was actually, I played that game. That was actually fun. But I don't know if there was Alien vs Predator the game, but I do think there was a comic that was Alien vs Predator, or Alien and Predator anyway. But I want to say it came out after this.
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie
this was
kind
just
of
a Fox
sparked, yeah.
Like,
and I don't know if Fox had any plans on putting those Alien and Predator together in a movie, or if it was just kind of a fun thing where they were like, hey, we own the rights to Alien, let's put an alien skull in there just for fun, But I wish I could have been in the theater in 1990 and heard the audience, to see if they were like, oh, no way, or whatever, or if they did, if it just went. I mean, I know people caught it because it was such a thing. Alien and Predator was like,
yeah.
I mean, that was a big thing even way before that movie came out. So
Alien vs Predator.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was saying. Is like, I know that there was an Alien vs Predator comic, and I think there was an Alien vs Predator comic before the movie. I think.
Oh, for sure. But
like you said, I think the comic. I don't know if the comic sparked the idea or if people were talking about it. I just remember several years before the movie came out, at least it feels like 10.
Yeah, because I feel like Alien and Predator was a thing while we were kids still.
It definitely, I remember, you had that idea of it.
Yeah.
So, and it could have been because of the skull in Predator 2. At least that's what I always thought.
Yeah. So that movie should have been like one of the biggest movies. It should have been such an event movie, Alien versus Predator. And we got what we got. PG-13 Paul W.S. Anderson version of Alien versus Predator.
That's my thoughts exactly.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Do we even need to do a podcast now? I think we just
for Alien vs Predator. No, I think we've covered it.
I think we just tied the two together.
Right.
This is a dual podcast for Predator 2 and Alien vs Predator.
Yeah, I agree. So do you have like a favorite scene or anything from this movie at all?
No.
Stupid question, I guess, huh?
I can't think of a scene where I was like,
that's cool.
I'm glad I saw that. Like, no.
No, I guess you're right. I guess I don't really have one either.
So, okay, I will say, I thought it was kind of cool when he got to go through the ship.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, like, I guess my favorite scene would probably be when you see that alien skull. When he's going through the ship. Now, I did have a question about the ship. Like, he was in like an apartment building. And then he like fell through a hole or something and was all of a sudden in this spaceship. And so I thought, the note I wrote, and I didn't bother rewinding to try to, get some clarification on it because I didn't want to extend my viewing any longer than I had to. But I wrote, I'm confused as to where his spaceship is located. Is it under that random apartment building? Because that spaceship is huge.
Yes.
And so it was just, I mean, it was like, I didn't understand the location of it. It just didn't make any sense to me. But
I like how they just threw him the gun and go, take it. And then he just runs. He doesn't like, I don't remember. He's just trying to get out. And then he realizes, they're about to take off.
Oh. I did like seeing the multiple predators. I thought that was kind of cool.
So I felt like that was totally just we now want to do what Aliens did.
Sure. Yeah, and just show you that there's more than just this one. Although I did think the same thing, even though I liked it. I thought the same thing. I was like, why? If there's more than one, what have these guys been doing while this one predator has been going around town killing a bunch of people?
Right.
Are they just like chilling on the spaceship? Just like
they're taking bets.
Right. They're watching like a live feed of it.
Who's he killing next?
Right. Go for that guy. No, don't kill Danny Glover yet. Don't kill him yet.
You're right. That's why I didn't get killed.
Right in the beginning. Yeah. No, save it for later.
Save it for later. He was getting ready to. They're like, stop. No.
No. It'd be cool if you kill him later.
Oh yeah, there was another scene where I felt like they totally stole from Aliens, where he was like, they couldn't see him. And they had like, I guess, the radar, and they're like, he's in the room, like he's right there.
Yeah.
And then he drops from the ceiling. And I felt like they were trying to get that same effect from Aliens, which
didn't work.
Right.
We haven't talked at all about like King Willie or any of the gangs or anything, but it's like,
well, first of all, they were he was barely in it.
Right.
They were like setting him up to be like, oh, it's gonna be, and then wait, who's King Willie?
King Willie was like the leader of like the Jamaican gang.
Yeah, they kill him like in the first like 30 minutes.
Right.
I was thinking that's who it was. And then what? Oh,
there was a train. We didn't talk about like the train sequence. Wasn't there like a subway sequence with kind of? I think that's where Bill Paxton dies. It was kind of like there's like a flashing lights. I remember that.
Oh, right. That's right. Oh, that's where I picked up, I think, today.
Yeah.
And I remember I was having trouble focusing.
Yeah.
And then like I finally started to focus, but as I was focusing, like later on, I was like, God, this movie is so bad. But I do remember like the subway scene. I remember Bill Paxton like yelling because it was like I was gonna say the music. What did you do? Do you remember the music at all?
No, and I was actually surprised because I remember thinking, it's too bad they couldn't get the same composer that did the first movie.
The music in this is awful. It sounds so goofy. It's like a xylophone. Like,
what's crazy is that it's Alan Silvestri, who did, Back to the Future, and he did Avengers and Avengers Endgame, and he did Forrest Gump. And
maybe he got some tips
movies
for doing action movies after doing this one, because it sounds like it's like goofy music. It's so bad.
I was trying to see. Yeah, he did so that's the thing. So I remember thinking, I looked it up just to confirm this. I remember thinking, watching the movie, too bad they couldn't get the composer from the first movie. It's the same composer. Alan Silvestri did the first Predator, and then he did this one. And I don't know why. I mean, the music is so good in the first Predator, and it is not at all memorable in the second one. Maybe it was the director who was, was like, no, don't do that cool music. I want some cheesy music here or something. I don't know, but
if anyone from production is listening to this, whose fault is it?
Yeah, I would like to know whose fault.
How did Predator 2 get this?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that I watched this movie about a week ago. I guess we were originally supposed to record last week, and it got pushed back, and I told myself I should rewatch the movie because I knew I wasn't going to be able to remember it as well. But I think
you've done a good job, though. We've talked about.
I was going to say I couldn't bring myself to rewatch it though, which is also another bad sign. I just didn't really feel like rewatching. I
totally get you, man. I totally get that. Yeah.
Well, this might be a record, one of our shortest episodes, but I don't have much else to say. We didn't talk about Gary Busey's character at all. He was.
So I was so happy to see that he was in this movie.
Yeah.
And he was definitely, just watching him act. He was just doing typical Gary Busey acting, and that was great. So I appreciated that for sure.
And I remember liking they fight the Predator, and he ends up coming back and kind of, I think he saves Danny Glover's life and kind of sacrifices himself in the process, kind of thing, if I recall. But he tries to like burn Predator or something. I really should have rewatched it. I feel bad, but I do remember liking that. But it was kind of interesting how he's like a kind of a government agent guy who knows it's an alien. He knows about the Predator. He knows about Arnold's character in the jungle and all that stuff.
Right.
And so because of that, he and Danny Glover kind of butt heads a little bit because he's this government agent who is coming in and, keeping Danny Glover out of the loop. And then eventually they work together a little bit when they're fighting the Predator in that scene. But yeah, Gary Busey. Good to see him.
I agree.
Adam Baldwin too.
I am a Gary Busey fan.
Yeah.
I think I'm a Gary Busey fan both on screen and off screen. From what I've seen, I think he seems like he's a good guy.
I don't know if I haven't really seen him off screen, so I don't know. But I like him I like him in this movie, and I like him in Under Siege and
I gotcha.
Point Break.
From what I've seen, it just seems like he has a real genuine care for making people just happy.
That's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, he just seems like a really nice guy.
That's cool. It's always good to hear.
And about like his, he was in that car accident.
He was, so I do know that, yeah, which I think is part of the reason why he doesn't do a whole lot of acting anymore.
Right. Gary Busey it's hard to tell if he's self-aware or not.
Right.
I think he is, but he's definitely a character. And yeah. Gary Busey.
What else can we say?
Just wanted to add that little tip.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's good.
Okay.
Well, I'd love to hear what your rating is on this movie, John.
Well, after we were talking about it, I'd say it's come down because there was nothing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 1.5 out of 5 stars.
1.5 stars.
Yes.
I was, I mean, I'm tempted to give it 2 stars, but I don't know why. Like, I just don't know. I agree with you. I think it's a 1.5 star movie. And I don't know, because there's not, like I said, there's not like a favorite scene.
Yeah, like when you asked me what my favorite scene was, I was like,
there's nothing. Yeah, like, I'm having such a hard time even remembering the movie, and I watched it a week ago. I mean, it's just not very memorable. It's not other than the alien skull, it's just not a very good movie, which is unfortunate. So yeah, I agree with you. It's a 1.5 star movie. That's what I would give it as well.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to know what you think about Predator 2. Do you love this film? Do you have nostalgia for it that we just don't have? We'd love to know. Let us know. You can leave us a comment on cinemaheroes.com. You can leave us a comment on our Facebook, facebook.com/SM and SM Podcast. You can tweet at us or comment on our Instagram post. Both handles are @CinemaHeroes. Or you can leave a comment, of course, on this YouTube video if you are watching it. And if you are watching it and like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We would love that. And we'd love to hear from you any way you want to reach out to us. But I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
As always, thanks for listening. And thanks for subscribing.